I will not be publicly identifying parliamentarians who may seek up suspect of having participated in foreign interference activities.
Name the traitors! You're complicit in treason!
Say, whatever happened to those 11 current and former members of parliament and senators accused of working on behalf of hostile foreign nations? You know, those traitors in our midst. Well, that's right, nothing at all. After a long summer break, MPs are returning to the House today to carry out their duties as elected officials, for which they have all sworn an oath of allegiance and loyalty to the sovereign to uphold.
I was acting.
There are some in that House today who for many months now have been accused of treason. And there are many MPs in that House today who know who those colleagues are. I'm sure it's an open secret among the Ottawa political establishment as to who these accused politicians are, but Canadians, the people who elected these MPs, well, we're not allowed to know. These alleged MPs and senators are being protected by the government, and Canadians should be outraged over this, as it appears they are.
Traitors! Traitors!
We want an election!
Name the traitors!
Stop the corruption!
Before we get into the show, be sure to drop a like on this video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this. Why are the 11 current and former politicians being protected by the government? Let me know your answer in the comments below, and let's get into it. This was the scene that greeted MPs today on their return to the House of Commons after another long summer holiday.
We want the names! Why do you lie to Canadians? It's funny, is it? It's funny how frustrated people are. It's funny to you.
And what will be seen as more bad news for Canadians and some good news for the alleged traitors in Parliament today, it was reported by Sam Cooper of the Bureau that Justice Marie Hogue, the woman tasked with overseeing the foreign interference inquiry, will not be releasing the names of the alleged traitors.
I will not be publicly identifying parliamentarians who may seek up suspect of having participated in foreign interference activities or of having acted wittingly or unwittingly as agents of foreign state. Canada is a state governed by the rule of law, which recognizes and protects the fundamental rights of every individual, including the right to fully defend oneself against charges and accusation.
And in more detail, Sam Cooper wrote in the Bureau today, the report's most critical findings suggested that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has failed to act on repeated intelligence warnings about specific threats from states including China and India that would likely lead to criminal charges in other nations. These warnings included cases of Canadian politicians knowingly accepting funds from foreign diplomats in transfers consistent with money laundering. It also highlighted the egregious actions of a People's Republic proxy causing the high-risk, high-harm threat to some Canadians. Citing fairness to elected officials accused of collusion and the sensitivity of classified intelligence that could harm Canada's interests if disclosed, Hogue's decision not to reveal the names of alleged collaborators ahead of an upcoming federal election comes amid growing public pressure, with most Canadians wanting the names to be released. And just as Canadians aren't letting up on parliamentarians over this news today outside of the House of Commons, Canadians on social media are sharing in that anger. One user writes, "In Canada, peaceful protesters are stripped of their assets, but foreign spies in the heart of government are completely protected. Free country or totalitarian state? Hard to tell." Another user wrote, "What possible upside is there to keeping these names hidden? You can keep the method of collection classified, but Canadians deserve to know who is wittingly or unwittingly selling us out to foreign powers. The lack of accountability is staggering." And here's this. We have a looming election at any moment. Canadians deserve and need to know the names. Otherwise, how are we to make an informed decision? Clearly, our institutions are not on our side. We need a whistleblower, and now. It really shouldn't surprise Canadians at this point that the federal government seems to be shielding the names of alleged traitors. After all, the federal government has done everything possible to avoid accountability and to avoid scrutiny on this issue. First, Justin Trudeau just denied all calls to do anything about this. When the public pressure began to ramp up on the Justin Trudeau government to address foreign interference, he decided to appoint David Johnston to be the independent special rapporteur on foreign interference. David Johnston, the former Governor General and Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation member, as well as close ski buddy of the Trudeau family, found that there was simply nothing wrong with foreign interference in this country and didn't recommend a formal inquiry. But the pressure continued to mount and a formal inquiry was launched. Trudeau appointed Justice Marie Hogue to oversee the commission, and it just so happens that Justice Hogue happened to be a partner at the same law firm, Heenan Blakey, while Pierre Trudeau was also a partner. Think about this specifically in the case of China. Not only does China seek to undermine Canada's independence and sovereignty, while also seeking to undermine Canada's national security, China is also the country supplying the chemicals that are killing tens of thousands of Canadians across our country. Waging a drug war against innocent Canadians across our country, ripping up cities and neighborhoods, tearing families apart, destroying cities like Winnipeg, Belleville, Thunder Bay, Cobourg, and London, Ontario, to say nothing at all about Toronto and Vancouver. China is our number one enemy, and we allegedly have MPs and senators, current or former, accused of taking money and taking bribes from China to subvert Canadian democracy. This is an outrage. Yet Canadian leaders will likely not say a single word about this today and hope that we all forget about it. Compare that now to the reaction we have seen in the United States and Canada surrounding the allegations leveled against Tenet Media. According to a Department of Justice filing, 2 expat Canadians, Lauren Chen and her husband Liam Donovan, are accused of taking $10 million from 2 Russians involved in RT, the Russian state propaganda channel, to start a conservative media channel. One other Canadian was an unwitting participant in this allegation, and yet the CBC and left-wing Canadian politicians have been going berserk about this story and demanding justice. Now, I believe in the presumption of innocence, as every Canadian should, and I understand that allegations are just that, allegations. But do you think that Canadian politicians and Canadian journalists are treating the allegations against the Tenet Media founders the same way as they are treating the allegations of unnamed current and former MPs and senators involved in allegedly subverting Canadian democracy on behalf of China, India, and Russia? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. Now, this is not to minimize Russian state interference at all. The question, however, is what should be taken more seriously? An allegation of a $10 million money laundering scheme on behalf of the Russian state to start a conservative media channel in the United States and Canada? Or allegations that 11 current and former MPs and senators are wittingly or unwittingly involved in taking bribes on behalf of foreign hostile nations to subvert Canadian democracy and Canadian sovereignty? I really don't think I need to answer that question for you. A Nanos research poll found that 68% of Canadians want the names of the alleged traitors released, so we can see, as Canadians, who these members of parliament are, which parties they represent, and so we can judge the evidence for ourselves. Now, isn't it strange that the ones who constantly rail on and on about protecting and upholding democracy are the same people who are currently protecting and defending the names of alleged traitors who have taken money to subvert our democracy? This is not their democracy, it's our democracy as Canadians. The Canadian people should be the ones in charge of choosing our own destiny by way of a democratic vote, with full knowledge and full confidence that our system works. You are innocent until proven guilty in this country. That is a given. But it does feel as though there is a double standard at play here. And the Canadian people deserve transparency and honesty. Otherwise, our entire political system, a system which is upheld by the people's belief in that system, will collapse, thereby achieving the ultimate aims of the hostile foreign nations who paid parliamentarians to subvert our system. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us today on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.